right, welcome on in. An NFL Nightcap recap, Week 10 edition across the NFL. And if we learned one thing about Week 10, this was a week for the heavyweights across the NFL. We're going to get into all of it on this Nightcap recap. Thank you for joining us. I'm Matt Lombardo, joined by a friend of mine, a colleague, the birthday boy, the de facto editor of Four Downs Every Week. Happy birthday to you, sir. Joe Stazak is here. The good scotch is being poured this evening. The wine at Casa de Stazak, it does appear to be. Joe, how you doing, my man, and happy birthday.
I appreciate that, Skip. I'm great. This is a hell of a way to end a great birthday. Doing a podcast with you. What else could be better? I mean, every Sunday is great because we're always connected with football, and like you said, you're kind enough to give me your stuff, and we review it, and it's great always. And this is fantastic. I appreciate you having me on.
And for sure. And great to have you here. Not a great night for Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you're joining us, let us know in the comments what you're sipping on at the end of this NFL Sunday. Let us know your biggest takeaway. We'll read them on the air. But I want to start at SoFi Stadium, where you talk about this being a weekend for the heavyweights, Joe. The Chargers went in and just beat the Steelers at their own game. A swarming, attacking style defense, kind of like we saw from Pittsburgh last week against Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts. They beat up Aaron Rodgers, sack him 3 times, intercept him twice. Kimani Vidali runs wild on the Chargers offense to maybe open up the conversation about potentially a backfield by committee approach in Los Angeles with a Marion Hampton, their rookie running back extraordinaire. But it just felt like watching this game, even over the last week, 2 weeks or so, Aaron Rodgers looks like he aged a decade from the safety, the sacks, the bad picks. Not a great look for Aaron Rodgers tonight.
Not a great look. Right now, with 5 minutes left in the game, he has a 19.5 rating. He's played well this year in certain situations. Tonight was not one of them. I mean, 10 of 23, 96 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. The safety, I mean, it looked like he was discombobulated. I'll give credit to the Chargers, but a 19.5 rating for a Hall of Famer, really? Pittsburgh's been up and down. They 6 turnovers. They swiped from the Indianapolis Colts last week, but the week before they're up 9.5 against the Packers, and they ended up giving up 35 points at home. They're an up and down team that I don't really trust the Steelers from what I've seen, and I've seen good and I've seen bad. Tonight was bad, and I'll give a lot of credit to the Chargers tonight, but Aaron Rodgers was as bad as we just advertised tonight.
Yeah, you said Aaron Rodgers looked discombobulated. I'll just come out and say it. Aaron Rodgers looked old. He looked old. He looked slow. He looked like he didn't want to be there on the sack, on the safety. He had some terrible reads down the field. They got the running game going a little bit with Jaylen Warren. But watching that game tonight, it looked like the wheels are starting to really come off for Aaron Rodgers in the same way that we saw the wheels absolutely come off for Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh last December. And you just watch this unfold, and there's a lot of talent on that Steelers front seven. They didn't get a lick of help from their quarterback tonight. And you just have to wonder, the Steelers now with the Baltimore Ravens charging and the way that they're playing defense, do you not have to go to become an offense that runs the ball on first down, runs the ball on second down, and just hopes that you get yourself in enough third and short situations that DK Metcalf can be good enough after the catch, or you can hit Pat Freiermuth over the middle of the field on quick routes, because it's just not working trying to push the ball downfield with Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yeah, this is true, but I always say it all the time that the NFL seems to be a different season every week. And I just go back a couple weeks ago when they played the Bengals and Mike Tomlin was kind of upset for Andrew Berry trading him from the Browns to the Bengals, and we saw why. But those 2 quarterbacks over 40 years old put on quite a show, and that was just a couple weeks ago. What happened? I don't know. Is it all Chargers tonight? He looks old tonight, and you're right. He looked a little disinterested. The whole safety thing it just didn't mesh with what we've seen from Aaron Rodgers. I'm not sure what to make of it. Maybe he is on the decline. Russell Wilson kind of faded into Bolivia, as Mike Tyson would say. So I'm not sure what to make of tonight, but this was I'm curious to know when the stats come out, the next gen stats, how bad historically this game was for Aaron Rodgers. Because again, like right now, he doesn't have a quarterback rating over 20.
We got about a half dozen people in the room. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us late. Your biggest takeaway from the games this weekend so far, what you're sipping, let us know in the comments. We talked about the old quarterbacks. We talked about Aaron Rodgers and the rapid decline against the Chargers tonight. I want to switch gears a little bit, Joe, and just touch on, I'm going to start to sound like a broken record here. But I don't know how the Giants don't fire Brian Daboll tomorrow. I mentioned this on the Nightcap recap last week. I wrote about it in an answer to a mailbag question on Friday, and I watched one of the more disgraceful coaching performances that I've seen in a long time unfold at Soldier Field today. Not just the cowardice of you're a third place team in your division. You have 4th and goal at the 1 yard line. You're up 17-10, and you kick a 19-yard field goal. That's inexcusable. You let the Bears and Caleb Williams hang around. You let them off the hook. They come back and they beat your ass. So they made you pay for the cowardice. But the bigger picture, Joe, and the biggest worry that I have about this Giants team is Brian Daboll is using Jackson Dart as his personal job security ticket rather than treating him like the most important cornerstone of the Giants' rebuild. I get it. The Dart plays with reckless abandon, and part of his mentality, part of what makes him great is his moxie. And I love it. The kid's got competitive in the fire and moxie for days. But somebody needs to be the adult in the room. Somebody needs to tell him to go down. Somebody needs to tell him to step out of bounds. Somebody needs to stop calling rollouts and QB draws and quarterback keepers up the middle late in these games. He gets a concussion, practically blacked out on the field. The NFL doesn't pull him. He goes back out and ultimately winds up in the concussion protocol. This is reckless. It's dangerous. Brian Daboll is now 20, 40, and 1. The Giants aren't showing enough progress, in my opinion, to bring Brian Daboll back, and they certainly aren't doing enough, Brian Daboll isn't, to protect Jackson Dart to merit him being the coach tomorrow, let alone next year.
I've come around to your thinking. I always kind of liked Brian Daboll as a coach, at least as an offensive coordinator. And they don't all, coordinators don't always make great head coaches. You have to be a leader of men, a CEO, incredibly organized. A lot of them are better in specialized positions. Like he bounced around. He was great at Alabama. I thought he did a lot for Josh Allen in terms of bringing his turnovers down and protecting the football when he was with Buffalo. I don't know what happened with the Daniel Jones experiment and things like that, but I think it's time for a change in New York. Look, they blew a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter against the Broncos. I mean, they do show signs of promise with Jackson Dart. I know he doesn't have Cam Scatterbo anymore, and Malik Neighbors is out, and they still hang around. And they gave up, you're right, kicking that field goal, put them up 10, and they gave up 14 points in the fourth quarter to Chicago on 2 straight possessions as they went 3 and out twice. And I'll give credit to the Bears, but the Giants seem to find ways to lose. That's what bad teams do. That's what bad head coaches do. They find ways to lose. And I agree with you in terms of using Jackson Dart as his personal job saver. I'm not sure what it is because I think at the end of the day, and I'm not sure they'll make a change in mid-season. I think they'll make a change with the head coach. I think Brian Daboll's coaching his last few games in New York.
I think it's coming. And I wrote about this in the mailbag on Friday. It's not just about giving the fans Brian Daboll's hit on a pike outside of MetLife Stadium. It's not about a mercy killing for the record. It's about you need to evaluate if Mike Kafka can be the interim head coach, if the offensive coordinator coming in can do a better job of elevating this offense, evaluate him as a play caller without any ambiguity about who's calling the offense, figure out if he can get more out of Jackson Dart, more out of the offense, and decide whether you need to throw open a full-fledged coaching search, right? It just feels like this is becoming an untenable situation for the Giants in a lot of different respects. And the longer they wait, the less optionality that they give themselves, because you don't want to go into this thing wondering if Kafka can be the guy. You want to know if he showed enough promise to even get an interview.
Yeah, I agree. I would open it up to a national search. I don't always like hiring from within because the guy's been there. And Mike Kappa might be a very good head coach. I don't know that, but I would go through the process and get the best guy, get the best candidate you can in to coach that team. I think they're an up and coming team. I really do. It's a shame they lost two weapons in Cam Scatterbo and Malik Neighbors. My goodness gracious, I had 109 catches as a rookie with Daniel Jones playing 10 games and Tommy Tomatoes, playing a few other. I mean, it was like you're like, how do you come down with 109 catches with that combo? And again, I'm not. Daniel Jones is like one of the MVP candidates.
But this was Daniel Jones with the Giants. And you said you don't know what happened with the Daniel Jones situation in New York. I just don't think that there was ever a marriage of scheme, personality, or ideas between Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll. And Jones's success, I think, is equally an indictment of Daboll and that staff and the Giants' inability to develop a quarterback post Eli Manning as it is landing in an offense that's built around his strengths with Shane Steichen as the head coach, built around weapons that include Jonathan Taylor, MVP candidate, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Tyler Warren from
Penn State.
These weapons all around him. I think that the Daniel Jones situation is an equally amazing look for the Colts as it is an indictment of the Giants and Brian Daboll.
Does Dan Gettleman, what kind of reprieve does he get for drafting a guy 6th overall from Duke and turning out to be an MVP candidate, just not with the team he was with when they drafted?
Oh, we're really going down the Giants rabbit hole tonight, aren't we?
Because I don't know. It's just a thought.
I think that from a talent acquisition standpoint, I do think that Dave Gettleman gets a little bit of a bad rap, right? Because you drafted Andrew Thomas, all-pro left tackle. You drafted Dexter Lawrence, all-pro defensive tackle. Yeah. We can talk about not drafting a running back number 2 overall when your roster is as inadequate as the Giants was, but you take Saquon Barkley, number 2 overall. He's a can't-miss prospect, offensive player of the year, Super Bowl champion.
Right.
And you think back to the philosophy, they still had Odell Beckham at that time. Right. And the philosophy, at least from my judgment, was, okay, Eli Manning is still there. Can you put the wheels on for one more year? And if it doesn't work out with Eli Manning, then at least you have Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham Jr. dropping your rookie quarterback in there. I don't think Gettleman built a great roster. I don't think that he ever adapted to the modern philosophies and concepts of roster building in the NFL. But I don't know that you can argue with the record in terms of drafting and evaluating talent. If you were a college scout and this was Joe Shane making those picks, maybe the Giants are a little bit better off. Who knows?
I agree. And the reason I went down that rabbit hole is because you used to be on the Giants beat. So I knew I was going to get a good answer. It's a good answer, man. Good stuff.
By the way, what are we sipping on over there? I know you got the red wine.
What Cabernet from from 2021. Little Cabernet.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
I usually do Prosecco.
Got the Belvini. I got the good scotch. I got the Belvini good scotch.
Very nice.
For Stazak birthday.
We got to do a cigar soon, man. It's been a while.
Oh, way too long. Now you're speaking my language. Michael Allen Brewer checks in. He's sipping on some milk, actually, and he's a Falcons fan. The longer this season goes on, the slightly better I feel about Michael Penix, but the much worse I feel about the coaching staff. See, I kind of have... I don't know how much of that game you saw this morning in Germany.
I watched a lot of the second half.
I kind of have a different take than Michael. I'm a little bit more concerned about Michael Penix, and I feel a lot better about that defense. And Raheem Morris being a defensive-minded head coach, maybe I give him outsized amount of credit for that pass rush and what they were able to do today against Daniel Jones and what the defense has done a handful of times this year. You have Drake London, you have Darnell Mooney, you have Bijan Robinson. I just don't know that Michael Penix is elevating them enough, but we'll see. I mean, he has the tools, he has the traits. What's your take on the Falcons and on Penix right now? Because to me, the jury is still very much out.
I'm
kind of optimistic about the staff.
I think the jury's out. I mean, it's only his second year. They're up and down. I don't quite get the Falcons. I mean, they played the Colts tough, but they could not. They had no answer for Jonathan Taylor. No answer for Jonathan Taylor. He just
not many teams do.
No, you're right. 244 yards, another 3 touchdown performance. I think that's his 4th this year. I mean,
Dude, he had
there's your
like 47 yards and a touchdown in overtime. How many running backs across the league didn't have 47 yards in a game? He had 47 in overtime and
They
the game
couldn't.
winning
I
score.
was thinking he busted one for like 12 yards on a 3rd down. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
okay, they're in much better field goal range than they were in the I'm like, all right, they're in good shape. And they kept handing it to him. He was just like kept going right through that defense. Um, I think Michael Penix will be fine. I really do. I think I'm not sure about the coaching staff. I'm really not, because they've been up and down this year. Carolina like shut them out in the game, and then they come back. They beat Buffalo. They're very inconsistent. I'm not sure about Raheem Moore at this point. And I know the caller or the guy who the viewer is watching is under the same guise, but um, I think the jury's still out on the look. You go as your quarterback goes, so it's all about Michael Penix, in my opinion. And of course, they have Bijan Robinson as well. They have a nice 1-2 punch, but it's early. It's his 2nd year. I usually throw out the 1st year for rookies. Um, to me, this is the evaluation year. It's his 1st year. I'm
Yeah.
okay with what he's done so far. I just think the team as a whole has been very inconsistent.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you here. It wasn't something we talked about going in. But, dude, how about that Texans defense at the end of that game? Just, snuffing the life out of Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, taking it over. And I still think the Colts are the prohibitive favorites in that division because they have Jonathan Taylor, because there's so many playmakers. I think the Sauce Gardner addition is going to be enough to really elevate that defense when they're healthy. Brian Baldinger told me he thinks that it's one of the premier secondaries in the sport. But man, oh man, with Davis Mills in at quarterback because CJ Stroud is out, and your defense has that kind of effort and just rips the ball away at the end of the game to steal the win. Cheers to the Texans. Cheers to that defense today. Cheers to D'Amico Ryans and his squad getting it done. Big division win, and the race gets a little bit more interesting in that division.
They started out, I think, 0-3. They're 4-5 now, and they're in the mix. I think you're right, and CJ Stroud's coming around a little bit too. He had the sophomore slump last year, and then was it last year or was it this year? He has not been playing well, but that whole team, and I like D'Amico Ryans. I like what he's done, and again, I like the fact that he's kind of stabilized what was going on, because they on horrible start to the season. They're in the mix again, and that was a big win. And defense travels, and they play very good defense. And D'Amico Ryans was a good defensive player, but amazing ending to that game. I mean, that's what they're taught, and they ripped the ball out, and they did a tremendous job. And again, they're one game behind Jacksonville right now, and they're very much poised to make a run for that division.
Who's your winner of the week? Who impressed you the most today, league wide?
I thought, Jonathan Taylor was amazing. 244 yards. I know we picked the rookie from the Saints. I thought he was
Yeah,
tremendous. He had a quarterback rating of 128.2, I believe, and it was a first win for a rookie in New Orleans. I think you told me this, 1981.
1981. Yeah,
I mean,
not going to be the
and he beat
last
it.
because I still think that the Saints are going to take a quarterback with a top 3 pick in the
Oh, I
draft.
think
So
they have
not
to.
going to be the last, but it's wild to think that franchise has not had a rookie quarterback win a game since before I was born in 1981. That's insanity to me.
Is that crazy? And they beat a team who went into Lambeau last week and upset a Packers team as 2 touchdown, dogs. Like, that's what I mean with the NFL. It's crazy. And Carolina's all up and down, but he did that uh, on the road in Carolina. I thought that was incredibly impressive by Tyler Show. I thought it was amazing. Thought he did a great job. Didn't turn the ball over, 2 touchdowns. But like since 1981, really? Yes, they're looking for a quarterback because, I mean, he did a nice job today. I don't think he's the quarterback of the future, but I think the Saints are looking to, upgrade at the quarterback position. Again, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a team really. You really don't.
Right.
Kellen Moore should know that more than anybody. He was a quarterback. So we'll see what the Saints do there with that situation. There are other teams that are just stockpiling number one picks. It's not a very good quarterback draft either this year. So
No, it was supposed to be. When you think about back
yes.
in July and August, and all the conversations about Drew Aller and Cade
Aller,
Klubnik and Arch Manning, and all these guys. And I had a conversation with a league executive about 10 days ago, just kind of, shooting the breeze about the quarterback class coming in. And he basically said it went from being this elite class to the definition of mediocrity that other than maybe
the guy from
Mendoza in Indiana.
Mendoza from Indiana. By the way,
yeah,
was that unbelievable yesterday?
a catch.
I know we both
goodness,
cover Penn State. And we like Penn State, but that was like the catch of the year. Like the fact that he was drifting. I mean, when he caught the ball, he was like 3 yards out of bounds, and all of a sudden, boom! I mean, that was amazing.
Drifting out of bounds, and still had the wherewithal to look down at his feet to make sure that he got one of them in as he's making the catch with two defenders in his face. It was one of the most impressive catches I've seen in a really long time.
Unbelievable. And he said after the game, I had to make up. He dropped a couple balls early, but that was Mendoza is the cream of the crop coming out. And but you're right. Everyone else Drew Aller's hurt and he didn't play all that well in some games. Arch Manning. Although I thought
the executive I spoke to said that if his name was Arch Smith would have been benched 3 weeks ago. But it's Arch Manning,
exactly.
So you give him every chance.
So much pressure on him from game one in Columbus. I'm like, give the kid a break. Like, you know what I mean? Like and he had a rough game against, the Buckeyes and whatever. And he's had some rough games, but he's coming around. I mean, it's early in his career. Like, everyone relax about Arch Manning. You know what I mean? Like, he's got time. But you're right.
Sure.
The class is mediocre. Except for Mendoza, the class is mediocre.
Yep, and I'll give you my winner of the week in a second here, but we called this Heavyweight Sunday. Look around at some of these games. I mean, the afternoon window was blowout city, and you can check out the column tomorrow morning. I spoke to a handful of executives about what makes the Seattle Seahawks such a dominant team this year, so hard to beat. They're just blowing the doors off people every single week. I know the strength of schedule isn't great, but you play who's in front of you, and there aren't any slip-ups. There aren't any 6 turnover performances like the Colts had against the Steelers or the egg that the Steelers laid tonight. It's just a well-oiled machine in Seattle. In Baltimore, they go into Minnesota and just make J.J. McCarthy a ragdoll, and then they goad him into these mistakes in the secondary, just looking like the bully that we thought they were going to be had they been healthy at the beginning of the year. Jahmyr Gibbs becomes the 5th player ever before the age of 24 to score 40 touchdowns from scrimmage. Joins guys like Barry Sanders, Jim Brown, Emmitt Smith, Randy Moss, Hall of Fame greatest players to play the game categories in his company. Patri, do you think Dan Campbell didn't forget the blowout loss in the division championship game? They ran up the score on Washington and the Marcus Mariotas today, and then Matthew Stafford, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks again. I mean, these are just statement wins by heavyweight teams across the NFL on a day where it feels like maybe we got a little bit of separation or at least some definition of contenders versus pretenders.
Yeah, as the season goes along, listen, I mean, you get better. More practices, more games. I mean, I always thought, I know Detroit was 5-3 coming into today, but I thought they looked like the most dangerous team out there with the way outside of game one where they just laid a colossal egg in Lambeau. They've been strong. And I think they're going to be a team. Listen, last year probably deserved a better fate against the Commanders, but they were like 16 guys out on defense. You know what I mean? Like they were so banged up last year. They are, I know a word you and I both like, explosive. Like Jahmyr Gibbs is explosive. And
he's my favorite player to watch in the NFL. I'm telling you, he might be the apologies to Jonathan Taylor. Jahmyr Gibbs might be the best player in the NFL right now because he's got the explosiveness. He's elusive in the open field. He's dynamic in the passing game, makes people miss. I just love watching that kid play, and it feels like he's just getting better. Imagine what they would do with him. Wasn't part of a backfield committee with Dave Montgomery, and they made him the lead dog.
You wrote that in your piece. I liked it. Do you remember when they drafted him, they drafted a running back, and I think I can't remember who they had, but everyone criticized the pick. Like, oh, yeah, this is why Detroit stinks, because they drafted another running back in the first. What I mean, someone knew what they were doing because he is dynamite, and I think that team again, if they stay healthy, is dynamite. You mentioned Seattle. I've never been more wrong about a quarterback as I was about Sam Darnold. I was ready. I was running him out of town on a rail his first couple of years. He did a phenomenal job, and I thought Minnesota made a mistake um, going with a rookie who didn't play the year before and getting rid of a 14-win quarterback. He goes to Seattle. He's been phenomenal in Seattle. They won 10 straight road games. They were up 35-0 before the Cardinals got inside the 10-yard line today. It was and DeMarcus Lawrence. 2 strip sack touchdowns. That's unheard of. That's unheard of. Seattle's cruising. What are they 8-2 now? They're cruising right now. And Sam Darnold.
You talk about brands of football that travel. If they can get Darnold to protect the football, that brand travels. You play stifling defense, you run the ball down people's throats with Carbonet, and you go and you get Rashid Shaheed as her to complement Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp, and you have 2 really good tight ends. If Darnold doesn't morph into Sam Darnold of old, that's a team nobody's going to want to face. I mean,
nobody's going to want to face
them. In any weather against any team. Just line them up and they're going to punch you in the mouth. Yeah, especially up there. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. And his teammates love him. He's done a phenomenal job there. Again, I mean, I'm not saying J.J. McCarthy's not going to be a franchise quarterback, but I know they wanted to save money and because they drafted, McCarthy's got 3 more years left on his rookie contract, and I know Sam Darnold had a rough time at the end of the year against Detroit, and then the Rams, bum rushed him. But I thought that he didn't get a lot of help from his offensive line. But I thought they made a mistake. And they tried to save some money, and they got rid of a quarterback who was really coming into his own in Sam Darnold, and he's doing it in Seattle.
My winners of the week. It's rare that you get to win twice in one day. But that's what the New England Patriots did today. They're the lead in the column tomorrow. Spoke with a veteran scout about what makes Drake May special in that situation. You'll read that tomorrow morning, Monday morning, rather, in 4 Downs. Probably listen to this on your way to work or something in the morning. But Joe, you just look at that game, and that's the formula. You have Drake May in the vertical passing game, and that's without Keyshawn Booth, who had been their most prolific receiver until he got the hamstring injury last week. But Stephon Diggs with that ridiculous catch at the end of the first half.
That was a great catch at the end of the half.
Insane. And they're well coached, not just because they have Josh McDaniels, one of the premier play callers and quarterback whisperers out there, but Mike Vrabel deciding that, hey, it's 1st and goal with 50 seconds left. The Buccaneers don't have any timeouts. It's the end of the half. Let's reverse quarterback sneak this and just to drain some clock. You score there. Henderson runs wild the first series of the second half. Your defense has a couple of lockdown, shutdown plays and shutdown moments against Baker Mayfield, of all people. And then Henderson busts out on a 54-yard run to end the game, and he has the wherewithal to look to the sideline and ask the coaching staff, hey, should I score or should I go down? And he scores. I could not be more impressed by the New England Patriots, by Drake May's continued ascension. And they basically get 2 wins because in Miami, the Bills played down to the Dolphins competition. They lay an absolute egg. And with 1 win already in hand, the Patriots have a 2-game lead in that division.
2-game lead.
We should really be talking about New England as a potential AFC East winner, despite how good Buffalo has been, despite beating Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs last week. New England's playing some of the best, most consistent football in the league right now.
And Derek May's just been, he's been phenomenal. His numbers weren't great today, but the way he's kind of stabilize that unit, and they have Stephon Diggs, but they don't really have
Mac Hollins, your boy, your fellow shoeless Walker.
Plays without shoes. I love Mac Hollins, but what Mike Vrabel's done there in 1 year, in 1 season, is unbelievable. And they do have a 2-game lead over the Bills. The Bills started 4-0. But if you look at who they beat, they didn't really beat anyone. And they lost a couple games, and then they came back.
Baltimore.
In the last
They
two
beat Baltimore.
games, they put up they beat 40-9. I guess they beat the Panthers, and then they beat the Chiefs at home. And all right, you look like Buffalo's back, and then they lay a colossal egg against a team that's just completely falling apart. Fired their GM. I don't know what the deal was with Mike McDaniel, but I mean they look great today, and Buffalo looked terrible today. But the Patriots are steady. They have a 2-game lead. Do you want to play them? Not really. I mean,
Not really.
they're not Brady Patriots, but they're strong, and Vrabel's done a phenomenal. You got to give him a lot of credit.
And they're young. I mean, look, Kyle Williams, rookie receiver, 50-plus yard touch. I think they had 4 explosive plays of 50-plus yards today in New England, down there against Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers. Statement win for them. And, I host the Between the Hashmarks podcast with Mike Tanier. Can't wait to needle him about this game on Tuesday because he's one of the biggest Drake May and Patriots skeptics out there.
Really?
They went down. They were looking for validation. They got a statement win, and it might have been the most impressive statement win of the year for any team other than maybe Buffalo punching Patrick Mahomes in the mouth last week.
No, I agree. I mean, the Bucs are tough at home, and Baker Mayfield's done a nice job, and they were, 6-2 coming into the game, and they're again the game was in Tampa. It's a tough place to play because Baker Mayfield's done a phenomenal job there, and I guess even up till recently, you could mention him in the MVP race, and New England just went down there and did their thing. Again, they didn't flinch. With a second-year quarterback over Baker Mayfield, is kind of at this point a grizzled veteran, but they did the Patriot thing, and again, Vrabel, he probably got a raw deal from the Titans, but and came in after the previous guy was there for 1 year, and they didn't. New England didn't flinch. All right, this guy's not working out. We're going with Mike Vrabel, a guy who's Mr. Patriot. I think he had 3 touchdowns as a linebacker in the Super Bowls. As a Patriot, he's buttoned up. And again, you don't go anywhere without a quarterback. And Drake May was a great pick. So far, he's paying big dividends.
By the way, we mentioned Mike Tanier. I want to pour one out for my guy. Him and his wife decided to go down to New Orleans, a little extended getaway this past week, and they were supposed to fly home last night. And I start getting these text messages from him that they're stranded at the airport at like 10:30, 11, 11:30. Flight keeps getting delayed. I said, dude, just go. We're now at the point, just go find the most expensive top shelf scotch at the airport bar or go to a lounge.
Louis Trey at $500 a pop.
Right. Louis Trey, a little bit of Johnny Walker Blue, whatever you decide to pour. Go get yourself a scotch because this is going to be bad news bears. They wound up having to take a Greyhound bus. He took a Greyhound bus this morning from New Orleans. I don't even know that he's back at up above the Mason-Dixon line yet at 11:45 at night on Sunday. I feel for Mike. The blue sky at Mike Tanier account has been tremendous with the photos of Greyhound bus stations in Mobile, Alabama, and Biloxi, Mississippi, and somewhere in the suburbs of Georgia. Just the roadman traveling band, not in great places there. I really feel for Mike in all seriousness. I've been on travel nightmares before, but nothing quite like this.
Wow. You're not kidding with the bad news bears.
Hop a flight in Atlanta, man. Take the bus to Atlanta, go to Hartfield,
that
Jackson.
Airport's a nightmare too in Atlanta, but it's better than taking a bus all the way home. Oh my God. Prayers to Mike. Yeah. You don't even know where he is.
We'll find out on Tuesday. Maybe next Tuesday. You might be getting a call to fill in on the main pod.
Hey, next man up, man. Next man up.
And any parting shots, final takeaways from tonight?
I thought it was an interesting Sunday again. I'm interested to see how the Eagles fare against the Packers tomorrow night. Packers are coming off a horrendous loss. Eagles have, tremendous record on Nick Sirianni after the bye, and they beat him twice last year. Jair Alexander's not making the trip. They signed him to, they kind of unloaded their clips. We'll take 4 edge rushers, we'll take 3 cornerback, maybe someone will hit, but apparently he's injured, and so he won't be. I would like to see how he would have fared last night because they do need
Yeah,
help.
you'll see him about 4 times all year, Jair Alexander. I mean, that's
Yeah,
why he's no longer in Green Bay. That's why the Ravens traded him after signing him in the summertime. I think I kind of like the move from the Eagles if you're looking at it as a postseason lottery ticket, that maybe he gets healthy and you get prime Jair Alexander in your most important games. You didn't give up a lot to get him, but you know, if you need to rest him to get him healthy and get him right, rest him and get him right.
I totally agree. And that story that Zach Berman put out about that they just had too many guys that wanted to try, I thought that didn't smell right. So maybe he does have a lingering injury, but because I think he's only played 15 games in the last 3 years. We'll see, because they again, and same thing with the edge rusher. They just threw darts at the board. If you can't get, like, your Myles Garrett, your Trey Hendrickson. I read an article that's, I heard Joe Banner say that's what we would do. Like, so maybe something will hit. We
Yeah.
shall see. We shall see how the Eagles fare Monday night. So I'm interested to see how they do as a 2.5-point dog.
We got almost a dozen people in the room. Going to be more people listening to this on Monday on the way to work, I'm sure. Joe, tell us where people can find your work, what you're working on, and what you got coming out soon.
Well, I appreciate it. I do a podcast called Skinny Post. I released it today, a lot of shorts on YouTube and all the other audio outlets. I write for Heavy. I cover the Eagles for Heavy.com. And you can find me on Twitter at JoeStazek975 or on Instagram at JoeStazek4799. Appreciate it, bud.
Got to get you over on Threads. Join the party on Threads. Join us over on the dark side. I got like 37,000 followers over there.
Do you really?
We'll
I actually am on Threads,
Hell yeah.
but it's all, I don't get it. It's all like chicks trying to, manipulate me. I think I'm on the wrong threads, and I'm fine with that. I'm definitely manipulatable, but yeah, I don't quite get it. I'm on the wrong thing, apparently.
You are. But that's all right. It's been a ton of fun. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you,
all
my
these
friend.
Nightcap recaps. It's a great joy. It's like being back in the studio in Philly again, catching up like old times. Everybody check out the column tomorrow morning. You can subscribe it between the hash marks on Substack. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Matt Lombardo, Threads at Matt Lombardo NFL. And in 4 Downs tomorrow morning, we'll break down that Patriots win through the eyes of an NFL scout, what he's seeing from Drake May. Talk to some folks inside the league about what makes Seattle so dangerous, and lots of fun insight and tidbits along the way. I'll say this: I buried the Ravens too soon. The Ravens ain't dead yet.
They're alive and well. I'm surprised. I'm shocked, actually.
Joseph, cheers, my friend.
Cheers,
thanks everybody for joining us. Cheers, everybody out there. Everybody have a great night.
Love it, man. Love it.
No doubt. We'll talk to you Tuesday on the Between the Hashmarks podcast. Maybe with Mike Tanier, maybe with Joe Stazak. But if Tanier's back in one piece, rest assured, we will get the travel story from the Greyhound Adventures.
God bless you, Mike.